Hey everybody, it's Never, and this is a video of my raid group killing Imperator Mar'gok on normal. Now that may not seem like such a big deal to most people, but since we only raid 3 hours a week and the group only got put together about a month and a half ago, it is kind of a nice accomplishment for us. We're pretty casual when it comes to, progressive raiding. I wanted to talk about this fight and some of the ways that we handled certain things as related to a tank and related to bears specifically. So the first thing he's doing there that you see is accelerated assault, which just means he does more damage to whoever has aggro. Being that I have more mobility, I start off with aggro so that I can handle the main tanking mechanic that he has, which is the Mark of Chaos, and that's coming up really quick. What he'll do is he'll put the Mark of Chaos on someone, and then on whoever's got aggro, and then that person needs to move away from everyone else so that he doesn't kill them with the big explosion that happens 8 or 10 seconds later. And you'll see it's about to detonate right now, and I'm far enough away that nobody gets killed, so I just move away from them. That ability will change as we go. Another thing that he does is he puts these mines on the ground. That's the little swirly one down there, that blue thing. If you stand in that or you walk through it, it will blow up and do a lot of damage to the raid, sometimes killing people, so that's bad. The other thing that he'll do is he'll spawn an ad in a couple of seconds called an Arcane Aberration. This guy does a pulsing AoE to the raid, so he needs to die really quickly, and you want to be careful because he does a knockback when he dies, so you want to make sure that the direction from him to you points in a way that's away from mines, because he'll knock you into them, and that's pretty bad. So here comes the next Mark of Chaos. What I do is I just make sure that I have aggro. Before that goes off, I usually will taunt when there's about 20 seconds to 25 seconds left on the cooldown for that ability, and then I'll make sure that I have aggro when it goes off. If you do it too close to when he's about to cast it, it doesn't always go on the person who gets aggro right when the cast goes off. So you'll see that the mines are still there, and you've got to worry about where they are. And that's one of the trickiest parts of the fight. There's a lot of other things going on here with the range that I didn't really have to deal with. Another thing you want to make sure you're doing is that if you're the mobile tank that handles Mark of Chaos, you don't want to get too much threat on the Arcane Aberration, because the last thing you want it to do is follow you. See, I got knocked right into that mine right there because I was dumb. But the tricky thing about this fight is that every time he changes phases, the abilities he gets are different. You'll notice that that Mark of Chaos actually teleported me to a random spot in the raid. And so you've got to quickly adapt to where you're going to go, and everybody needs to know how to move away from you. The other thing that he does is that big old Nova, and that will knock you back a little bit, but it also does damage on a tick. You have to be running toward the center of it to pass through it, otherwise it'll continually push you back and keep doing damage to you.
On it. Mine.
You'll notice that we have raid markers set all around the room. This is for ease of communication with where people need to move and which direction you want to go. If they know that I'm going to be running toward blue when I get Mark of Chaos, everybody else runs to the opposite side, which in this case is green. But since this is the one where it randomly teleports, it's really handy to know that, okay, I'm going blue, everybody knows which way to move away from before even needing to look to see where I am. Communication is extremely important in this, and I use, there you'll see that I use Displacer Beast to blink through the edge of the Force Nova so that it didn't push me back.
Don't get hunted into a
You'll see that I taunted him there right about 25 seconds until Mark of Chaos. That means that the other tank who is getting a lot of damage from the boss stacking up our accelerated assault, I give him a bit of a relief, and then it also makes sure that I have aggro for when Mark of Chaos happens. This is the first intermission phase. The two ogre mages that you'll see kind of on the left of the screen there, you can see one of them, they have no aggro table, so the DPS just take care of them. Both tanks should come and take care of these volatile anomalies and just AoE them down. You don't want to kill them all at once because they do a little bit of AoE when they die, so you want to make sure that you just pick them up. And we were actually kind of unlucky with the placement of that mine there, so we had to stay way back here, and sometimes they'll spread out a little bit as they're going, but if you have both tanks stay here, you should be able to kill most, if not all of them, before the phase transition ends.
digital away from me.
Now, as soon as this intermission phase ends, we'll see why I'm the tank that is taking care of Mark of Chaos. You want a tank with a lot of mobility to do it. Death Knights and Paladins aren't particularly the best for it, and so something like a Monk or a Druid is really great because they can move away from the group very quickly, but Druids especially have a really nice ability to handle something. You'll notice that I'm using Displacer Beast where I normally spec for Wild Charge. I only do Displacer Beast on this fight because it's so good for it. So the next version of Mark of Chaos that he does will actually... he'll root you in place when he casts it, so the entire raid needs to move away from you. But Displacer Beast allows you to blink away a little bit farther from where you are, buying the raid some precious distance so that you don't have to move everybody so far across the room and then back. You'll see that as soon as Mark of Chaos is being cast, he starts casting it, I start running away, because he stays still, and then I blink away from him as the taunt goes off. You just want to make sure that you don't distance yourself so far that the other tank can't taunt the boss off of you. But everybody got away, and we were pretty good for that one. So then I'm going to make sure to go through the force wave. And then about 25 seconds until Mark of Chaos, and then I will taunt the boss and pick him up so that I'm ready for the next Mark of Chaos. And I'll do the same thing. This here is one of the trickier parts of the fight for the raid's positioning, because while moving around everything, you still need to make sure you don't hit those mines, and you still need to be aware of where that aberration is so that it doesn't knock you back into mines. Here comes Mark of Chaos, so I'm going to start running away as soon as the cast begins. And then I'll blink the other 20 yards or 15 or whatever it is, and a little bit of self-heals helps a lot here. And back in. Coming up soon here, we're going to have the second intermission phase, which is what I think the most difficult and critical part of the fight. I actually really enjoy this fight. The fights with a lot of complicated mechanics have always been the ones I've enjoyed, like Putricide or Four Horsemen. Stuff like that. It makes me feel a little better about myself and more accomplished when I finally overcome the encounter. So I didn't get very far away on that one, but you can see with the range radar over there that as soon as it goes green, you know that everyone's farther away from you. And we're good to go. I believe during this attempt there was actually one Mark of Chaos that went on the wrong tank. That it went to the other tank because I didn't taunt him early enough when I came back into the center. And if that happens, just make sure the other tank knows what to do in case. It's not as ideal. Our other tank is a Death Knight, but he handled it really well. There was no problems with that. So here comes the next transition phase. And what you want to do is get right here in the center. There's a Gorian Reaver. That guy is priority number one. Right here, as soon as I get aggro on him, this is where we'll Bloodlust, and he has to die before anything else. The only person who isn't attacking him, other than healers, is the other tank who's picking up those adds. But everyone focus fires this guy because as soon as he does kick to the face, he's also doing Crush Armor, which will mean that you have to tank swap, and tank swapping while all those adds are on the other tank is a real big chore. So then we'll go back here after he's dead, burn those adds down, the DPS will take care of the mages, and then we'll go right back into doing everything like we were, except stuff will be a little different this time because he changes his abilities again. But once that Gorian Reaver is dead, honestly, the hard part is over, and it's really just a matter of surviving the rest of the fight. So it's like Cinder Grossa. You just sit back and relax and continue to work the machine until you overcome the fight. So he comes back in here, and now Mark of Chaos is going to be a little bit different. Also, the mines are different because they start growing in size after he places them, so you've got to be aware of that. So what Mark of Chaos will do this time is it doesn't root you in place, it doesn't teleport you. You can still run like you could the first time it did it, but this time it'll shoot out a whole bunch of like little arcane spheres in every direction that will blow up if they hit anyone. So you want to be real careful of that and make sure you position yourself right for the aberration. So I'm moving away here, and you'll see all these spheres will just kind of pop on out of the bear and go and start messing everyone up. Here they go. Splat. Now these are really easy to dodge. They move in a straight line in a very predictable pattern, and the farther away from the raid you can get, you can position it so that you'll see that only one of those really passed by anyone that had to move at all. And then you just continue to do the fight as you were. This is the place where most people make mistakes, quite honestly, is they feel like the fight's getting close, and they get a little anxious and start to make mistakes. The best thing to do is to just stay calm and continue to do the fight until, before you know it, oh hey look, he's dead. How about that? The places that I like to use DPS cooldowns are right toward the end of the time that I've got Mark of Chaos going, right before it goes off, because that allows me to make sure that I get topped off before I get out of range, and it makes sure that I'm getting the most damage mitigation from the accelerated assault that I have. Another good time for cooldowns is right when you're going to use, right when the Gorian Reaver comes out. If you have a DPS cooldown, it's a real good idea to use it there to help the DPS out. You know, ultimately, this is a survival fight, so it's really not a matter of a DPS race or anything. We were nowhere near any sort of enraged mechanic at all when we got this fight down, and I don't think most groups will be. You'll see that we've got one DPS that is just amazing and stellar, but the rest of the DPS balances it out to an average of about 17 or 18k DPS. So it's really not that crazy. And we actually did a couple of very near attempts before this one without that hunter there, so it's definitely doable with less DPS than we had. It just makes the transition phases a lot easier if you have a lot of DPS. You'll notice also that the mines, they're more frequent and they stick around a little longer in the fourth phase. And if you go through the fourth phase really slowly, you'll end up with a lot of mines all over the place, and you've got to be very careful. The big key things to watch out for that people tend to make a mistake on are running into mines and just general awareness issues. Not switching to the Gorian Reaver, and not understanding what other people are doing in the fight and messing things up. If you don't understand what Mark of Chaos is and how that works, then it might be difficult for you to know where to move, especially during the third phase. So anyway, that's how we handled Imperator Mar'gok. I hope that was helpful to someone. Most of you have probably already done this fight and know your own way for doing it, but this is how we did it, and if you're a bear tank, then for once, Displacer Beast is useful. Okay, thanks, bye.